Hey my friends, welcome back to the Pop Culture Cafe. I am Huck, and on today's episode, the Alfred Hitchcock viewing continues. Last night, I watched Rebecca. Stars Joan Fontaine and Laurence Olivier. This is one of the earlier Hitchcock films. It's from 1940. So, what did I think of Rebecca? Stick around and find out. Alright guys, before I dive in and tell you what I thought about Hitchcock's film Rebecca, please do me a favor. If you're new to my channel, please hit like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. I do this kind of stuff all the time. I do reviews, box office breakdowns, live shows in the morning, trivia contests, just a full love for movies at this channel, y'all. So if you love movies and that's your jam and you like what you see today, please consider doing those things. Alright, so look, let's just get to it. Here it is. I have the criterion of Rebecca here. And I'll talk about the criterion aspect of it after I review the film. So, again, it stars Laurence Olivier and Joan Fontaine. And it's just this story of this girl played by... And she's not Rebecca, by the way. Of course, you know, having never seen this film, I thought, of course, that Joan Fontaine is playing Rebecca. But no, Rebecca is actually the name of the wife of Laurence Olivier's character who had passed away. So... but she is constantly, her presence is felt, she is referenced quite often, to the detriment of poor Joan Fontaine. So she just can't seem to catch a break and do anything without being compared to Rebecca, who is like apparently super beautiful and perfect and, you know, nothing ever scared her and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah, so Joan was very well cast. She was supposed to be this real fish out of water outsider, you know, from America, from New York. And she's visiting Monte Carlo, where she meets Laurence Olivier's character, Maxim de Winter. And she kind of falls in love with, or sort of gets infatuated with Laurence Olivier to the point where she kind of wants to stay. That they have this very quick like fling. Like it was so rapid paced, like instantly, I love you darling, marry me. I'm like, wow, that was fast. But I mean, it's convenient for the film, like that has to happen so that she'll stay and not go back to New York. And then so thus the plot continues because she sticks around and becomes his wife. So yeah, so the supporting cast was quite good as well. Let me just break down some of the other faces in this film. So Judith Anderson plays a role in this. She's sort of like the, I don't know if you call it like the head maid, if you will, of his estate. She was kind of like, she reminds me, if you've ever seen Young Frankenstein, you know, Frau Blucher? Frau Blucher.
I am Frau Blucher.
Like, I swear to God, I think Frau Blucher was modeled after Judith Anderson. Maybe you guys actually already know the answer to that. I said, yep, she sure was. But she's got a very, like, Dracula's daughter kind of vibe to her. And then George Sanders plays Rebecca's cousin. And George Sanders, he starts to play one of those things, you know, where they do that British accent and all that good stuff. Like one of those things. I'm like, oh my God, he's doing that thing. Yeah. Anyway, so what can I say? So again, I didn't really catch on that this was Laurence Olivier. I'm sure his name popped up at the front, but I wasn't paying attention. Yeah, so he's really good, especially like near the end. There's this big like long monologue that he's giving to Joan Fontaine. I'm like, man, that guy's really good. No shit, Huck, it's freaking Laurence Olivier. All right, so let me just let's back it up here for a second, Huck. So when the film starts, I will say this is my fourth Hitchcock film in my viewing here, and I'm definitely gonna say this one felt until the second half like just a very traditional old movie. And when I say old movie, it's kind of like I just kind of group it into a lot of the things you turn on if you're a kid growing up and your parents have old movies on. It didn't feel special. Like the other three, like North by Northwest, Rope, and Rear Window, instantly felt special. Like as soon as I hit play. This one and I don't know if it was because it was from 1940, but the music, oh my God, the music in this isn't good. I mean, it was probably good for the time, but if you've been watching I've been watching a ton of like 1930s and 40s films, especially back in last October when I just binge watched 30 Universal monster films, and I will tell you that the soundtrack to this film feels a lot like a Universal Monsters soundtrack mixed in with like an Abbott and Costello soundtrack. It's got those kind of like flutes and clarinets and, you know, the pianos. Like, it just feels exactly like one of those soundtracks. Whereas like Rear Window had like this amazing soundtrack. So that aspect of it was making me feel like, oh, all right, I'm glad I didn't start with Rebecca, because I'll be honest, if I started with Rebecca, I wouldn't be as pumped to keep going. But now let me flash forward here. So it does take a nice little twist late in the film. And it does have a big twist ending, like you kind of expect a Hitchcock film to have. So this is one of those, I would say, Rebecca is a slow burn for me. In the end, it was really good. Like, I did enjoy it. It's not one I would pop right back in and rewatch like I would say Rear Window. Like, that was just like a masterpiece. That was just so good. Like, riveted the whole time. But yeah, the supporting cast is really good. Oh, so I have to tell you, speaking of the Universal Monsters film, so there's this character, it's a policeman who pops up. And he's kind of one of those policemen I talked about in my Universal Monsters reviews where they do this, oh, like they're really big. That guy is in this movie. Oh. So the actor's name is Billy Bevan, and he's actually uncredited. But he's here on IMDb. I just had to look him up because I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's the guy. And yes, sure enough, when I looked him up, he was in Dracula's Daughter, in The Invisible Man Returns. So I'm like, yep, those are the two I remember him from, because he was talking about the Invisible Man. He was here, I swear. He went around the corner and then he was gone. You know, so thankfully he wasn't that broad in this film. Like, he already has a very expressive face. But anyway, so I just had to point out the fun fact of starting to watch a lot of these older films that are, you know, pre-50, almost pre-40s, this is 1940, that a lot of these actors are sort of showing up. In fact, I wasn't even sure that Judith Anderson wasn't Dracula's daughter. Like, she kind of, because she gave off that vibe, I thought, I wonder if it's her, but I no. Anyway, so what else can I say about it? The cast was really good. The cast was good, absolutely. I did watch, here's the thing, you can tell this is an older Criterion, because I found this for $1, y'all. Criterion, it is DVD, but I watched it last night in the bedroom with my wife, because she likes this film. Her name's Rebecca, so and she swears her parents did not call her Rebecca because of this. Probably a good thing if you've seen the movie. So the stuff on it was quite fascinating, but it was all text. Like, it's like, here's what so-and-so thought of Joan Fontaine's audition. It was like super fascinating stuff, but why didn't they just make a documentary, like interviewing people and talking about these things and showing clips? Because, you know, after you slog through a movie and then it's like late, like 11 o'clock, and then you have to read text, it's like, what? You know, so the presentation of these bonus features was kind of poor, but the content in it was very interesting. So I actually would love to see sort of a redo on this, where they actually, you know, because Criterion's known for really good special features. And get this, they did finally do some stuff that wasn't text. They had the auditions of Joan Fontaine.
I wrote the Cupid.
You did? Well, why didn't you say so when Cliff was here?
Well, I wanted to, or I started to, but somehow I didn't get the chance.
Doesn't matter, but you'll have to explain to Mrs. Danvers. I'll call her.
Oh, no, you tell her. I'll go upstairs.
Vivian Lee, like literally, they still have the auditions, and they're on here. That was fascinating.
Mrs. Danvers will be furious with me.
What the devil she got to be furious about? It's not her bit of china.
Oh, I know, but she takes such a pride in it all, and It's so awful to think nothing's ever been broken in there before. Mrs. Danvers will never forgive me.
So that's how sucked in I get on all this Hitchcock stuff, because I keep watching the bonus features. But just the fact that they retained all of these screen tests for all of these actresses back then and made them available on this Criterion is just amazing. So if you can get a hold of Rebecca, the Criterion, get that, because those are like treasures, man. So finding this for $1, that was worth it. So what else can I say plot-wise? Again, don't want to get too deep into plot, except that she marries him. She tries very hard to fit in and live up to the expectations of Rebecca. But he's always a little standoffish. He's never quite, like, embracing her because of what's gone on. And then you kind of come to find out why he's a little distant. So, yeah, I think I'll stop there, because I don't want to get too much into the thicker part of the plot that comes near the end. But that is sort of when it turns up the heat a little bit and relationships become a little bit more dynamic. And yeah, and I would say it ends, it's got a fascinating ending. You're like, oh, like almost to the point where I still was like, is that really the ending, or did somebody pay somebody to say that? And you know, anyway, so I will say that I was still pumped at the end. It was really good. Performances fantastic across the board. Of the 4 I've seen so far, I know ironically too, Rebecca was nominated and won Best Picture for that year. So, and I can see why. In the 1940s, I can see why, because it was a captivating story. Once you got to the end, it has this great twist, and the performances were banging, and that's just that's what the Oscars are all about. But having seen his some other films, and those weren't even nominated, much less won, I'm kind of shocked, because like those are even better crafted films, although this was based on a book. So and from what I can tell, my wife even owned the book. She walks in, she goes, look, and she like shows the book, because she's a super reader, man. I got a smart wife, y'all. She read the book, she loves the book, and she felt that the film followed the book nicely. So if you guys are fans of the book Rebecca, and you're wondering, does it, according to my wife, it does stay the course pretty well. So that is going to be my review for Rebecca. I did enjoy it. So far, I'm going to, out of the 4 I've seen, I am going to put it 4th. The other 3, I still can't even decide which of those is number 1. Like they're all, I mean, maybe Rear Window's number 1, and then Rope and North by Northwest are fighting it out for number 2. So, but yeah. So guys, that is going to do it for now. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you enjoyed my review of Rebecca from Alfred Hitchcock, please do me a favor and hit like and subscribe and smash that bell so you get notified the next time I do my next video. In fact, the next one probably coming up is going to be Vertigo. So be on the lookout for that. Alright guys, that's going to do it for now. Thank you so much for checking out this video. And until next time, I'll catch you later.